This ninja toe is a very special one that has been passed on in my family for generations. TK here, coming to bring y'all the word, tell you that it is hotter than the holy blaze of hell where I am, and yet I am still sporting my own personal style here. I have the lightest and the whitest linen rayon suit that no money could afford, and when I say no money I mean like it was like super cheap. Like I physically just went to like a department store and I actually found, I was looking at actually really nice ones that are made of 100% linen, and this was a rayon blend, and wow, is this a suit review? Anyway, I just thought it was a funny anecdote to start with, that white, well, that's not necessarily being my color. I had to wear it because, I mean, otherwise I'd burst into flames, and just pulling this off is pretty hard in this weather. And I've already gotten some pretty interesting comments from, let's see, I was trying to wear this with a blue shirt, just to be colorful for once in my life. My girlfriend's always saying that I need to wear more colors and not be so monochromatic. Like, I don't know. Her favorite color is teal. Oh my god. Tolstoy, big fan of The Matrix. You can tell. You can tell by my color choices. Anyway, so, yeah, let's see. The comments that I got. Saturday Night Fever, The Love Boat, I look like the ice cream man, hey, where's your leisure suit? To quote my uncle Tony, fuck you. So, yeah. Basically, I think a couple episodes ago on the Tolstoy show, we were talking about cold steel knives, and that one, I still can't open it one-handed, really, sort of, was a long-winded one about the cold steel Espada, which is, well, you can get plenty of information on the internet. You can look at my video, or you can look at more informative videos. But after doing that, I started looking around, and I was doing more research, and I actually decided to take a bit of my own advice that I gave at the end of the video, and that advice was to look into the cold steel Espada medium, which I call it the mini Espada because it sounds cooler, but according to the line of these folders, there is no small. There's a medium, there's a large, and then for sociopaths out there, there's the super mega badass size, which is not this. This is the large. This is technically medium. That's what gets so fucking confusing. It's like whenever you go to a Starbucks and you just order in a normal English, you're like, I'll take a medium. Like, do you mean grande? Okay, in that case, I'll take a. That sounds too big. I'll take a small. Do you mean tall? What are you talking about? So, yeah, I took my own advice at the end, and I said that it would actually be interesting to try the mini Espada, the medium. Here's kind of how they compare in size. None of this really matters to you unless you actually, have gotten your hands on one. I mean, I can give you size. I can actually tell you the specs, the length of the knife. I believe the blade on this one's 3 inches. I believe on this one's 5.5. But what does that really mean? I mean, to people whose hands, or have you ever like sat there and measured your hands? I mean, how big is my hand? What's the circumference? Is my hand medium or small? Is it medium large? Is it medium well? So I mean, sitting here and telling you, oh, it's got a 3.8925 inch with a half diameter, like that doesn't really mean much to you until you get it in your hands. I know some people whose mitts are so big they can physically open this one with just one quick, whereas I mentioned that I kind of have to do a double to get that bastard open. And of course, we went into discussing, in my last review, the thumb plate, which is supposed to be used to do a waiver pull. I won't show you on these pants, but you can look it up on the internet anywhere. And this one has a different opening mechanism. Thumb stud, which is just a screw. I don't know why. They really could have. I guess because it just seemed utilitarian. It has texture. Your thumb can catch on it. So it's a screw. So, Exact same look, exact same style, exact same feel and knife bling. Super, super, super nice knife. Really great quality. Main difference is that it's a little bit smaller. Now, question, is this good or bad? Tolstoy say good. I know, for once, Tolstoy advocates the smaller knife. I've actually had this argument with myself about the length of knife. Everybody's knows he got a custom Continental. Oh, jeez, am I singing badly workaround again? Okay, so, for example, well, actually, this would probably be the second time. I really need to clean this blade off. This one's got little rust stains. Oh my god, I need to get some steel wool on that bitch. You're not going to be able to see that, really, all the damage this blade has done, but damn, I need to clean this thing up. I feel bad that I let a cold steel go this long. But then again, it wiggles. So, I'm kind of pissed off that I paid that much and the craftsmanship isn't that great. But I do like the style. That stiletto was very sweet and matches kind of my personality concerning knives. That's one of the things that drags me to the Espada line, is that the way that it looks is classic and futuristic at the same time. And there's a way that you can do that. I mean, biggest example that I ever tell people is if you ever get to see Gattaca. Supposedly in their universe, cars all run off electric engine, right? So they don't need to be eco-friendly because they already are, so they can go back to making cars look as awesome as they did in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, yeah? So, same deal. The technology's come along so well that you can make it look kind of, you know, you can make it look old world and new world at the same time. G10, you know, scales that are layered so that they look like, you know, the hickory stock or rifle. But anyway, so back to what I was talking about was about blade length. Actually, the first time that I thought, yeah, why not be a good idea, because I actually sat there and measured. I know that Cold Steel makes a 6-inch blade version of the Tylite stiletto, and it just looks a little ridiculous, honestly. With the handle going out to here, it doesn't look like you'd be able to pull it. And, you know, effectively, it doesn't look like it's good for carry. It looks stupid. 4 inches is definitely, I think, the, well, because this, for defense. And I had a whole argument again. Oh, damn, this thing's in really, really bad shape. Oh, my God. I really need to fix this up. Oh, wow, this is awful. I'm sorry, I'm, like, sitting here, like, gushing over my knife. I want to, like, baby it, bring it to the Poca Center and heal it. The 4 inches for defense, I mean, again, I know that I advocated never using a knife for defense, and I really want to go into that later in this video, so I'll probably give you a rant about that while we're here. But if someone put a gun against my head and said, what is an ideal length of reach for a knife, I'd say 3 to 4 inches, and anything past that in a folding variety, or even a fixed variety, is a little, you know, overkill. 4 inches was definitely good. When I saw the 6-inch model, I was just laughing. I mean, it's. I think I would personally. I would only use like a 6-inch, or I would only ever buy the 6-inch highlights just for collector value, just to laugh at how big and pocket swordish it was. But what I was going to say was, oh right, about length. I have 2 points to make by getting open my knife case, so I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We'll talk about length first. This is the Hiho, and it was born of its older brother, or what have you, the Hiho CRKT folder, spring assisted, or not a spring assisted, assisted opening using like this weird tension bar on the back. It's a really great idea. With the, what was this thing called? The Hisasu, the folder. They're both Japanese words for like assured victory or finishing blow or something like that. So this is obviously supposed to be, you know, tactical and everything, and that'll get me to my second point. And this one, which I think looks a lot nicer. Again, the G10 scales that are layered and have that, you know, kanji written in there. I really don't even know what it says. Maybe someone who reads Japanese can say that, you know. But this blade, I actually carried this as an EDC for a little while. It is a nice little gentleman's folder. I think that this knife would complement a, you know, decent suit. A suit jacket, you know, your attire, your ensemble, would actually be complemented by a nice little gentleman's folder at a party. Assuming that you don't party with a bunch of, you know, closed-minded people who assume that if you carry a knife that you're a thug and you're going to stab someone. If those are your friends, then I'm very sorry for you. But, yeah. Decent little folder there. But after a while, for some reason, I just felt there wasn't enough length in it. I don't know why. Maybe it's compensating for a small penis. I don't know. I can't personally say why. I felt that I needed just a little more in my knives. And then I just started to dislike this one because of the style. The handle is just so fat and heavy. It's interesting. It's like it's trying to, like, it's going for a minimalist look there, but even so, I just don't like it. The reason being this, what I've come to find out about me and my knives. As I've gone through a metamorphosis through my collection, which has to do a little bit with, and this is just a shitty C3, a little cheap Chinese charmer, but, oh god, that thing's so disgusting. God, why did I even buy this in the first place? I think it looked cool, so I bought it. But anyway, I think it's fake wood, or if it is wood, it's cheap wood. But either way, the wood, it gives it a classic look. You know what I mean? It looks like old world craftsmanship. It looks like, oh, damn, that lock didn't even engage. Ah, it's just the cheapest, thinnest piece of crap. Why don't I have that in my collection? I like the old world looking knives. A lot of knives today just turn me off with their design. This is, you know, this is my Kershaw Tonto Blur. I used to carry this a while back before my style and sense started changing. And it's a decent knife, but it's just the look about it. I mean, all these knives I kind of have shelved now. I think only the CRKT with its somewhat tactical look. I don't think this bothers me. The M21 doesn't bother me for some weird reason. And I have to admit, it's a pretty badass knife. It's gotten me through some pretty bad situations. I've been out in the middle of the woods with only this, honestly. This and wet logs trying to start a fire. One of the reasons why I couldn't carry this, and it's I think the best assisted opener I've ever had, the Igniter CRKT. It has a very elegant clip point spear, whatever point blade, but just the weird scales just make it look like it's, you know, like something out of like a gay army. No offense to anyone who likes that style. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who like the tactical, but that's the thing, is I just don't frickin', you know, like this. I would actually prefer my knives to be, I don't know, this is just a, you know, slip, what do they call it, a slip knot, slip joint, slip whatever, slippy slip. Just stainless steel, just, you know, it just looks like a gentleman's folder. Granted, it is a straight razor style blade. I don't really get that. And someone once told me this was for cutting dope, like shearing off dope. Alrighty, I thought it was a frickin' straight razor. So yeah, you know, within my collection I have a lot of knives that I don't use anymore because they don't match my style. I don't wear jeans anymore, so it seems a little unnatural to be pulling out, you know, it would just seem weird, like clashing styles. It's something that kind of occurs with me, the stuff, that same thought occurs to me with what I'm driving. It's an awkward thought, but driving a pickup truck and wearing, you know, the things that I like to wear and having the hobbies that I like to wear, driving the pickup truck right up to the cigar shop where I buy a fine, you know, cow or punch, or I don't do Gurkhas anymore, or acids. But it's a little awkward, it's a little weird. And I know that, you know, some people could complain saying that I'm being, like, image conscious or something like that, and casting that in a negative light. But I mean, I don't understand. If you look back at, like, the punk movement in, like, the 1980s, and I don't mean punk like Green Day, I mean like the Clash, we've been over this before, Sex Pistols, real punk, you would see guys in D.C. wearing Doc Martens with, you know, ripped, tattered denim, you know, vests that they were very proud of, and they probably drove an old beat-up, you know, Volkswagen, you know, whatever, with, like, metal stickers on the back and shit like that, or what have you. So, I don't know, I don't think there's anything wrong with, as long as it's within your, you know, reach of financial, as long as it's within your finances. I started thinking about if I had to buy a car. I used to say that I wanted a Cadillac, but I'm probably, and then I took it down a notch, and I was like, you know, a Buick wouldn't be too bad for your style, and at this point I'm just like, I'll take a Crown Vic. I thought I could afford any of that. And the reason being that, well, girlfriend doesn't always have the best impact on your wallet, and I'm not saying that in a negative way, I'm just pointing out the fact. And of course, Tolstoy keeps on buying knives, and booze, and smokes, and lots of food, because I don't know how to cook, because I'm a total bachelor. So you came to see this knife, right? No, we're talking about our feelings now. Fuck you. So, what I was going to say is, for once I actually think that the smaller knife looks better, not only in the overall build, the blade, but just the way that it feels. Now, the biggest thing that I like about this, other than just the looks and everything like that, and the size of the blade, because it's smaller, I can actually open this one-handed, using a thumb stud. Not a waver pull, not a switchblade, whatever, not a ballast song. The way that I'm most comfortable with opening a knife is just that. That is what I'm most comfortable with doing. And take a look at that, really. I think that blade actually looks more elegant because it's shorter. This one, I think, actually, although it's not unelegant, now that I've gotten used to seeing them both, I think the longer one, the large Espada, looks a little goofy. I mean, I know it has more of a Persian look to it, and that's cool and all, but this actually looks like you can get something done with it. This just seems like I'm compensating. Not that I'm hating on having something big. I mean, I know that I advocated it like 2 videos ago. But I was just saying that this was the first one that I saw because I thought that this was going to be more about the size of like the Voyager, the Cold Steel Voyager that I have. Whereas this is more like the size of the Voyager. And for once, having a knife with only 3 inches does not really feel... This feels like you get some work done. It still looks sturdy. It still looks big because of its thickness. Yeah, it's thick. Actually, I was talking to someone recently, and they asked me like what my favorite type of liquor was or whatever. And I just said Kentucky Bourbon, and they said what brand? And I said Knob Creek. And this guy is really, really, really an intelligent fellow. And I just laugh because he has like the sense of humor of a third grader, because then he goes, so you're saying you put knob in your mouth? And I like looked him dead in the eyes and said, yes, I put warm knob in my mouth, and then I swallow. Tolstoy is totally like PG. Kids, beg your parents to watch my show, or something. So yeah, and the way that it handles actually is better. With the large Espada, I mean, you can get a hold there, but then I feel awkward with this extra stuff kind of sticking out over here. So I always think, am I supposed to go down here and hold it like that? And I know what some people are saying, which is that, well, in a knife fight, yeah, that's never going to fucking happen. Oh, in a knife fight, they've already shot me, or have already hit me in the back of the head with a pipe, and then they took my wallet. I don't understand. I thought they were supposed to pull their knife out and, like, present to me like a ninja fight or something. Oh, it didn't happen like my kendo instructor told me it would happen. But basically their argument was that, oh, you can grip down on it, now you have extra reach or some shit. Dude, who holds a knife like this? You know, with that extra... Ugh, come on, man. That's like... This is like driving at 12 instead of 10 and 2. So this right here, it's not that it wasn't uncomfortable, it's very ergonomic, and actually this back does give you more leverage when doing cutting tasks, but it always feels awkward, like I just don't know where I'm supposed to put my hands. This one? Perfect. I mean, and if I did really, because there's only a little bit of, like, awkward tension, like, right here on that, I could just move my pinky out of the equation. It's very good. Reverse grip is a little less comfortable, but actually still feels damn decent. I feel like I can maneuver this one a little bit easier into the reverse grip and then back into saber grip. This one, I cannot do that. With this one, you can flip down a little bit and see, how do I get it from... Yeah, there you go. But then when I want to do the flip back up, no, can't clear it. And you should see me working with, at work, the pill counting spatulas. I flip those like butterfly knives. Everyone like sits there and looks at me and goes like, and then every so often I'll make a mistake and accidentally like launch it in the air, and then the pharmacist gets angry, but whatever. What are the only major downfalls of this knife? I'm going to actually talk some smack. Oh yeah, one more good thing about the knife before I talk some smack. Talk some Mac? Talk some Mac? That sounds like a McDonald's commercial. Yo man, let's talk some Mac. Eat at McDonald's. I don't know. This one, what was I even going to say? Oh yeah, how they ride in your pocket. This one, it does ride comfortably in your pocket, but you're very aware that it's there. This one will ride comfortably in your pocket, and eventually you will not be aware that it's there, just like a good knife should be. One of the only problems that still remains, though, is that although it's kind of cool how they have that clipped there, and I like how it... Another thing that I like about this is that the G10 scales, and like in the knife community, they have this whole desire to make things grippy so you won't lose your knife or something like that. And rather than having a good solution, like having a deep finger choil right here, that it's very unlikely. In this one, it's basically damn impossible for you to get your finger out of that choil and slip up and grab the blade. In this one, it's slightly possible, but not very. You know what I mean? You can grip that fairly well. But most of the time, knife manufacturers' solutions to it being not grippy is saying, you know, I know, well, we'll just take like this texture like fucking sandpaper and then line the whole knife with fucking sandpaper. So it's doesn't feel smooth in your hands. It's not as fun to fondle, and it destroys your pants. And my pants aren't fucking cheap. Well, these were, but most of the time they're not. And it's also hard to find pants in my size. They assume that if I am what I am around my waist, that I'm also like 40 inches tall. Never fucking understood that. And if I can find them as short as I need them, yeah, I'm not 6'1". Then they're like, oh, you must be a fatso. I don't get that. Is that really how body mechanics work? I mean, I'm not the skinniest guy on earth, but damn, son. So, what was I going to say? All right, the one downfall about this. The rocker lock. Now, everyone knows this has the triad lock, so it's solid. There is no play. That knife ain't going nowhere, buddy. I'm applying a shit ton of pressure. I almost don't feel comfortable doing that because I'm afraid that it's going to, like, somehow give, just, you know. That rocker lock, I've only had this for about 4 days, and my thumb is so sore. I mean, I'll just get up in the morning and, like, you know, get ready to take a piss or brush my teeth, and, like, while I'm touching something with my thumb, the first thing I touch with my thumb, like, wakes me right the fuck up, because the pain, I'm serious, it's just, you gotta push in. And there have been times when, just playing with this, trying to break this thing in, I cannot get it to go in. And there was actually an elegant solution that they posted on the internet. Damn, I like that action. Which is to find something hard, a hard surface, like, you know, I guess the back of my desk here. Just press in. Uh-huh. There you go. But that's not an elegant solution when you're out on the street. And obviously, when you're cutting on the street, and I don't mean cutting up like gang members or some shit, I mean like cutting something, you know, whatever it is. I've been out and about and needed to cut through some packaging and do it discreetly. So you get your knife out real quick. You look both ways to make sure no cops are coming and no mothers are walking by. Maybe there's an old World War II vet sitting on a bench and he's like, I don't give a fuck. So you cut your thing and you go, okay, and you close it real quick, slip them out of your pocket. Nobody gives a shit, just trying to be discreet. But with this, if it's locked open and you can't get it unlocked, and trust me, my thumb has given out and I've been like, you know, and had to actually find like something hard to lock it, you know, to like an edge of a desk or a table. When you're out in public, it's not exactly easy to find. And obviously you don't want to be walking around, knife out, going, hey, I just can't close my knife. Don't worry, everybody, I'm not here to stab you. Specifically if it looks like this. If it was like a Victorinox or a more gentlemanly looking knife, and by gentlemanly I mean under a ½ inch and not sharp. It has to be a penny. So, you know, one major downside. And the reason for that being is because the blade is smaller. As what some of them fancy engineers on the net done told me, this has a longer blade, therefore it has more leverage over that rocker lock when you're disengaging. The kind of concept you have to understand about the rocker lock and how it works when you're pressing down it is sort of like if you're playing a game of teeter-totter with a 2x4 balanced on some concrete or a concrete block, and you want to balance perfectly with somebody who is heavier than you just give them less plank, right? You give them a shorter plank, and all of a sudden it would require more weight to overcome your less weight simply because you have more of the plank on your side. See, that's how kind of non-engineer my brain is that an engineer could probably just say, well, there's less tension on the something, bang, 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 bolt, and the rocker talk, and the detent. Alright, okay, that's... I hate where I live. Yeah, where were you when the bikers were, like, revving up all fucking day long, all night while I was trying to sleep for a 12-hour day at work? Fucking bastard cops. Anyway, so, what was I saying? Oh, right. Less leverage. And I've been sitting here, there's still, I can see lube on the blade because I've been using, you know, high-grade air cart lubrication to and just loosen. There you go. Oh, my God, my thumb. Oh, God, I'm crippled for life. Why, Jesus? So, yeah. And I've just been I've just been sitting there, flipping it open, cracking it back against the table, and trying to do that. They say that eventually the rocker lock will wear in. And that's a good thing. So, anyway, there was really no way to link this in to the review elegantly. Damn, come on, don't do that. No way to link this into the review elegantly, so I'll just kind of throw it in now, which was my last Espada review. I talked about, you know, the Marshall, the whole, like, you know, bullshit stud muffins mentality surrounding knives these days. But then I started thinking, why has it become like that? And I did a bunch of research, and in fact, one of my viewers suggested this book, and I can't fucking find it for free or for sale. If I find it for sale, it's upwards of $100 because it's so rare. Dicks. And, yeah, I'm trying to find a free PDF. I mean, a PDF that I pay for. I mean, a free PDF. And the only one that I could find was like a free first chapter, a sample here. It was called The Logic of Steel, and much like Mark the Animal McYoung and No Nonsense Self-Defense, it doesn't sit there and tell you, well, if you twist here and do a reverse karate chop, then you'll be able to... No, it just like tells you about, this is what knife fighting would look like. I mean, just logical stuff. It says that like the #1 like crippling wound sustained from a defender from a knife attack is always to the hand. Because most of the time, if you're going to survive it and they haven't stabbed you in the heart, they'll get you in fatty areas or intestinal areas that can be sewn up and you will live from. You won't be crippled. But if you reach out to try to grab the blade from the person or even hold your hands up to defend yourself, and it's easy to sever all those tendons in there, and then your hand is crippled. If they cut you here, they can stitch it up. If they cut you here, they can stitch it up. If they stab you in the ribs and it just punctures your lung, they may be able to help you. You can even live without one lung if they stab you around here. Other, small stuff that they tell you about most 95% of all knifers are right-handed. Therefore, knife attacks will come and they will hit you on the left-hand side. 90% of the blows will be on the left-hand side. So, and if they're going to attack your kidney, then that'll actually be on your right-hand side because they'll be reaching around you. Just stuff like that. Stuff that gives you the gruesome, gritty details about what it would really be like to be attacked with a knife and how your kendo teacher's reverse karate chops will not fucking help you. So, the thing is, he starts talking about why we view knives as a thug weapon, which is kind of something I've struggled against ever since I was 16. No, ever since I was younger than that. I was handling knives since I was 13. The funny thing was, though, ironically, when I first got into the whole knife, world, I was looking at cheap Chinese charmers in mall stores. You know what I mean? That had they were C3s. They had big skulls on them, and and they had bikes and fire, and they were orange and blue and all that shit. And I kept asking my parents for it, and they were like, no, 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 no. And I don't know why I was so obsessed at the time. It just seemed cool, and possibly because they didn't want me to have it. I wanted to have it. So eventually my mom buys me my first knife, and it was actually a old-timer slip joint. That was the name of the brand. There's actually a name. It's sort of like a case knife. It broke. It's no longer with us. I didn't know that on a slip joint you couldn't keep it halfway open because the tension on the bar back there would cause that bar to snap. And it did. It snapped really bad. And I was trying to clean rust off of it, so I lifted half open and I put it down in I think it was either vinegar or Coca-Cola, whatever. So that was my first knife. I think it taught me a lot about knife responsibility, simply because it was a slip joint and didn't lock. I had to be careful. I had to really think about it. Don't ever try to put negative pressure on that or it's going to come back on your knuckles, that kind of thing. And from there I just started my collection, and I learned a lot about the basics, not really so much about sharpening. That's kind of one of my insecurities. But I never really thought too much about stabbing people. That wasn't why I was collecting. I have practiced very quickly removing my knife, but it's like a quick draw competition. I never really thought about using it as a weapon. But I mean, I will admit the thought has occurred to me, what if you had to? And I've been in a situation before where I was I won't even go into legal details, I won't even tell you about what it was, but I was trying to get my pocket knife open that was before I was carrying one that didn't have a clip. I was trying to get it open in my, pocket without actually, taking it out and opening it, because I felt like people were going to jump me. I have been jumped when I had my knife on me, and instead I ran to the woods and called the police, but then I started thinking, I still watch a lot of the Cold Steel videos about stabbing, sides of beef and cutting rope and shit like that. I'm like, yeah, but why are you so interested in this? Why is America so? Why is this new business of big ass fighting knives that will basically land you in prison when if you use the knife, then the defense attorney or the prosecutor is going to say, well, look at how this is marketed. It's the Super Billy Badass 9000. He was purposely buying this knife to go and look for a fight, which is one of the things that a lot of people say Cold Steel does bad. Is all those videos that they are just promoting the whole, knife fighting bullshit, mythos that is going to land a bunch of young, stupid men in jail. And one of the things that I was thinking about, it was well, why is it like that? And I started thinking, possibly it's because we have no access to firearms anymore. When there's even in Maryland State Charter, it says that we're allowed to carry tools for our own personal defense. And I started thinking about it, and I'm just yeah. And because in the Logic of Steel book, in the first chapter, when we first got here, Europeans, we saw knives and using bladed weapons to fight as kind of being, savage, because only the red man would use a knife to do that, because he didn't have, ball and powder, and the ball and powder had kind of surgically replaced and become a cleaner alternative to getting right up and someone going and stabbing them. You could stand from a distance and go and just watch that person go, as opposed to having to and rip through them. And I started thinking about it, and I'm just it's funny, if they hadn't removed our ability to carry firearms, this whole subculture of the Billy Badass Knife 9000, and you might need this to defend your life, probably wouldn't spring into existence. Knives would be more utilitarian. They would be plain and normal and just made for doing everyday cutting tasks, and the emphasis on blades made to kill and defend would not be so heavy, because we wouldn't have a need. And I guess some people could say, why do you feel like you need to carry a tool to defend yourself? And I'm like, well, the cops aren't everywhere. And there's a famous saying, when seconds count, the cops are only minutes away. And granted, I know that's funny because I survived an attack after calling the police, and I waited several minutes to decide should I call the police or not. But that was just one incident. I mean, things can go down in America, you know, like that. And I'm not suggesting that we should be paranoid, and I'm not suggesting that the cops don't have a place. I'm just suggesting that possibly it would be a better idea to have shall-issue laws. And not only that, but to increase gun control in a positive way. Not saying you can't ever have a gun, but saying you can only have a gun license if you want to show up to a combat course and prove your accuracy, prove your you know, ability to carry. And I think that would actually make the world safer. Would I go, this country anyway, gun control can work on total islands like Japan and England. Not necessarily America. We're attached to the rest of the world through Southern America and through Canada. So violence, drugs, rock and roll, sex, that can all kind of flow into us, and it's made us good and bad in different ways. But if they made shall-issue laws more laxed and decided to give people the right to carry firearms, and we didn't have to resort to, you know, knives or whatever, would I carry a gun instead of a knife? No. And would I carry a gun for self-defense? No. It's just not something I think I would be comfortable with. And also, at the same time, I would already feel safer just because I knew that maybe someone next door was packing heat. And I don't think it would end up as OK Little, you know, at Little Corral the OK Little, whatever the fuck that movie's called. I don't think that, like, people would be wandering around the streets, like, shooting each other up and shit. But who knows, I could always be wrong. Anyway, tune in next time for more pseudo-education through your favorite crazy, well-dressed YouTuber, Saturday Night Fever. Woo!